Hello everybody, how's it going? Just wanted to come up here and talk about a few topics. Wanted to start off with a bit of a follow-up to a video that seemed to do really well a while ago, talking about collecting, the changing face of collecting, and kind of talk a little bit about how it's been going with paring down a lot of those collections, those kind of goals, and then I want to talk a bit about what I think we can expect coming up here very, very quickly in the fall as far as video games with ATLUS and Nintendo in particular, because I think we're on the edge of some really big releases. I think there's going to be a lot of news coming really fast. I think September is going to be crazy in particular. But first off, let's start off with collecting. Again, it's been a topic of discussion for a while now for a lot of people with the explosion of video game prices and with the artificial inflation of sealed games, with people that own a stake in a company that's grading games are also the ones selling them on auctions and all this, a lot of shady stuff. But I'm not going to go into it because there's tons of videos out there, if you know what I'm talking about, going in depth in a lot of those discussions. We actually know a local video game store chain owner who is kind of a part of all that debacle, which has kind of made the stories a little more interesting and seeing what's going on. But video game prices have gone insane, and I talked a lot about looking at a lot of the older games and older systems and realizing that it's just not worth it trying to piece together what I want for collections for those older consoles when you can put that same amount of energy and money into newer stuff or newer versions of things for a fraction of the price. Like I recently picked up the PC Engine Mini from Japan. Checked out that video if you haven't. I love that thing. It's really cool. I've played it a lot and I have it still sitting up near the projector because I'm going to be playing it again constantly. It's great and there's tons of games and I'm super happy with that rather than trying to hunt down real physical versions and hardware for that system because it's just crazy. It's insane. And it's been a great way also for me. The other thing too is that because I'm not just strictly a video game collector type thing. Amanda and I both really love video games. We both play a lot of video games. As you've seen this channel, I've done tons of reviews over the years, and Amanda's obsessed with her PS4 right now, which is awesome, and I'm really enjoying the Switch. We love video games, but we're not just video game collectors. I'm more actually of a movie type, TV show type collector than video games. I love playing video games. A little bit less of a collector in compared to movies, TV, and Amanda's the other way with books and things like that. A little more of a collector on that side and building that kind of library. Both just kind of like video games as our secondary form of entertainment. So it's been good to release a lot of the older parts of my collection. I mean, going through, it doesn't matter what's the PSP, the DS, the NES, the PlayStation 2 in particular, because that collection was huge, and selling off a lot of it. Since we do run an eBay store, it made it very, very easy to go ahead and just do that, and using those funds to fill in a lot of the gaps of things that we want a lot more. In particular, why I've been able to do so many of these complete collection videos for movie and TV franchises and that kind of thing. I just finished, before filming this, filming my collection for Rocky. So if that's not up before this, look out for that. And if it is up, go and check that out, because I really, really like that franchise of movies. Is partially because I've been transferring selling a lot of these old video games and using it to finish up a lot of those collections that are really pared down. If you've been following my videos for a long time, you know that I'm very particular and I actually have researched and listed out these are the specific things that I want, rather than just kind of grabbing whatever. And I actually try and minimize the amount of space too as well, because we've been going through some things where I might have a much older DVD release and picked up the Blu-ray over the years, but then there's a Blu-ray DVD combo that's come out since then, so maybe we'll sell those two and get the combo. It takes up half the space. Or there have been a lot of really decent movie collections out the past 4 or 5 years that maybe instead of a bunch of those individual releases, that box set takes up a lot less room. Kind of upgrading and trading up and taking up less space that way has been really good. And some video games where I had the PlayStation 2 version and the port to the PSP. I played them both multiple times over the years. and I'll probably never go back to that PSP version because I enjoyed the PS2 version better, the console version, and how many more times am I realistically going to play it? Sell the PSP game. Oh wait, that game that I bought years ago for $20 is now worth 140. Great, that's awesome. So that's kind of how things have been going, to where I'm pretty much done whittling through what collections that we have and selling off those unwanted things, and really adding a lot that's going to be coming up, especially in September, to these collections, finishing up a lot of that stuff. Because one of my big goals is I'd like to, sometime within the next 2 years, finish up what we want for DVD and Blu-ray in particular. Those included in that is like HD DVD and that kind of thing, but those kind of disc-based formats. Obviously some older things like Laserdisc and that kind of stuff, where there's some rare ones, and we'll wait for that kind of thing. But I'd love to be done with like all my classic gaming consoles, what I want for them, and the DVD and Blu-ray collections. I'd love to be done. Obviously, it doesn't include movies that have yet to be made, like movies in 2030, but done as far as what's out there, and older stuff. And we're getting very close to that goal. We've been taking off so many off the list. It's been really good. It's been easy to do that transfer too, where it's, I've sold an incredible amount. The value is now insane too, but I've sold off things like my Sega CD collection. Because I realistically will probably never play it again. I didn't have any titles on that system that I super loved that I didn't also have on something else. That's the thing with a lot of these. And I love my Genesis. I kept my Genesis. I kept a bunch of games for the Sega Genesis, but sold off a bunch of those. Took a whole chunk of stuff off my DVD and Blu-ray list and that kind of stuff. I'm ordering some books that we really wanted and just haven't been able to find out in the wild. So that's kind of where it's been going. I sold even recently like about $200 worth of some PSP games that were ports of games that I had on the PlayStation 2 already. Put that $200 towards some DVDs that are coming within that time of filming this coming week. I actually have a couple of things coming from some classic TV shows and a really good documentary that I watched a long time ago and really enjoyed, that kind of stuff. So we'll look out for a lot of that coming, because it's been a lot of fun and a great release, almost in a way, to unburden from those things that realistically, when you're really thinking about it, you're never gonna have time to touch again, for those things that you'll love and enjoy over and over again. I know from what I do in my daily life, what am I gonna revisit on a regular basis? I know, and I know the things that I'm not going to, and the things I'm not going to let go. I know, especially getting to a point where, I'm not older, obviously, but I'm to the point where I know what is nearest and dearest to my heart. I know what I'm going to treasure, and I know it's going to have meaning for me into the future, and what I want to keep and preserve for myself, for my own enjoyment, and being able to do those is great. So that's kind of how things have been going, and that has... there's going to be a lot, again, those pickups videos and that kind of stuff, and complete collection videos in the near future, and a lot of Star Trek pre-order and that kind of stuff coming out September. September's going to be big, and I think September is also going to be big for video games, because there's a lot of stuff that was kind of bottlenecked over the past year and a half, 2 years, with obviously what's been going on in the world. YouTube still doesn't like me using the big C word. And I think there's to the point where a lot of stuff fell behind and then started catching up over this past year. And then you have other stuff that was early enough in production that it didn't fall behind but is on schedule for this year, where I think there's just so much that is meeting at the end of this year into 2022. It's going to be coming out. I think Nintendo is going to have a huge direct this month. Absolutely, we're going to be seeing a lot of crazy stuff, I think, coming from them. I really think that we're going to see stuff like Game Boy and Game Boy Color games going up on the eShop. I think we're going to see a lot more. There's some more preview stuff with Splatoon. I think we're going to see, obviously WarioWare as that comes out, more Breath of the Wild, that kind of thing. I think we're going to see a lot coming from Monolith Soft. We're going to finally see Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and I'm hopeful that before that pops up, we're going to see a port of X over as well. But I definitely think we're going to see Xenoblade Chronicles 3, probably a short preview type thing, and then a just Xenoblade Chronicles 3 focus direct before the end of this year or sometime early next year. So Nintendo, I think, is going to come out and with a September that is explosive. And I think another company that's going to be really big, because they already have been talking about things they're going to be showcasing in September, is ATLUS. I think ATLUS is going to hit it big, because ATLUS and Bandai Namco, the two of them have been kind of slept on the Switch in comparison to a lot of more comparable companies and the type of games they've come out with. And both of them, I think, over the last year or so, some game releases have begun to realize the potential of sales on the Switch, and that they shouldn't be quite so PlayStation focused. And another thing that's going to be driving that as well, I think, is the success of the Switch in Japan in particular. ATLUS has always been very Japan focused with a lot of the way they tailor their releases, and I think that the way the Switch is just completely dominating in Japan, and PlayStation's kind of struggling a little bit at this moment, that it's going to be a big switch to the Switch. And I think part of that is going to be a lot of porting stuff over to the Switch of older titles that will sell like crazy. I think they're finally realizing this thing that most people outside the corporate world have realized this entire time, that if you put something like Persona 5 on the Switch, it's going to sell like crazy. If you put like a Persona 3 or 4 collection, or even sell them individually, Persona 4 Golden over to the Switch, it's going to be huge, any of that kind of stuff. And I think we're going to see a big shift to bringing a lot of older content that isn't on the Switch from ATLUS onto the Switch. And I think a big portion of that, because of the anniversary and because they've been talking about putting a big focus on that, is going to be Persona. I really think Persona 3, at least Persona 3, 4, and 5 will be coming to the Switch, and I think some version of the Persona 4 Arena, either a brand new third game or the collection of the first two, some form that's going to come back. I think we're going to see all of that at least teased, if not outright announced, within the next 3 or 4 weeks, and then more details come out as time moves on and things are released. But I think ATLUS is really going to grasp seize the opportunity to grab those potential Switch sales, which are just going to be astronomical for some of these games that it takes a lot more work than I think a lot of people realize just to port something over to a different system, but it still takes a lot less than it does to make a whole new game from the ground up, and the sales potential is so huge that it would just be insane not to do that. So I think that is going to be going down as well. So these are just a couple of topics that I thought, maybe didn't need their own video, just kind of wanted to express those kind of things. I'd love to hear feedback from you guys, what you think is going to be going down with Nintendo and ATLUS, and how things have been going in the collecting world with you too. I know a lot of people that watch my videos are of the same kind of like mind of me, and they love different older physical media collection type stuff, and I'd love to hear what you've been doing lately as far as that is concerned, reaching any kind of goals, find anything really, really cool. Make sure you comment down below, like, and keep checking back for similar content in the future. And again, September is going to be gangbusters. It is going to be crazy, I think, in pretty much the whole media spectrum. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out.